the Copilot readiness assessment, the output of this looks like you get a score of how many or how closely aligned are you to get a good Copilot experience. And it will call out blocking issues that will say you can't actually use Copilot yet until you do this, this, and this. Some of the blocking issues, for example, might be you aren't licensed for Microsoft 365 for all of your users yet, or you're using shared accounts in Microsoft 365. You've got to use individual user accounts for this to work for at least the people that you want to have Copilot for Microsoft 365. Or you could be using an older version of Microsoft Office versus the Microsoft 365 integrated productivity suite, which is actually required in order to be able to leverage Copilot. So it's about 24 questions, 27 questions, it might be up to 30 now, that just walk you through, do you have the right piece in place? And I'll call out again, you don't have to do that on your own. Your Aldridge principal consultant that you're already working with is going to be able to walk through this assessment with you and help you determine, are you ready? What block are you in? Can we just turn it on? Are you going to get benefit from it? When we start looking at a cybersecurity assessment, we're really talking about the same sort of cybersecurity that we always talk about for IT infrastructure. The conversation used to be IT, and then the conversation became IT plus cybersecurity, and that's still true. Now there's three pieces to the conversation: IT plus cybersecurity plus AI, and that's really our world that we're going to be operating in over the course of the next 3 to 5 years until there's a category 4. We just keep expanding these out, and they are separate disciplines that we have to consider the strength of your infrastructure, the strength of your security, and now we have to consider the strength of your AI. That's part of what we're trying to do when I'm bringing you this information to say forward-looking. I'm going to give you a head start on this stuff. But the cybersecurity assessment is the same assessment that we're already doing with you. We want to make sure that you've got the right tools in place, you have the right processes in place, you've got the right levels of user identification in place, and if something goes wrong, you have the right levels of detection in place. I recognize that there are some people on the webinar today that are not necessarily clients yet. So just as a screenshot opportunity, and I know we will be sharing out the recording and the slide deck afterwards. When I'm talking about cybersecurity today, really I'm talking about the 2024 standard. You need to have these things to be a business operating in today's threat environment. That's one part of it. It's a very tactical, product-focused part of it. The other part of it is make sure you have the processes and the expertise in place so that all those things work together and actually provide the layer of security that you're thinking of. Again, something we can help with. The data hygiene assessment is really about going through and running a tagging or a content analysis. Where are your files stored in Microsoft 365? Are you using SharePoint the way it's designed to be used? Do you have libraries set up for specific groups? Do you have security established for those particular groups? I'm getting ahead of myself. The slides are lagging behind me. You want to make sure that you've already got your information organized in a way that Copilot can respect successfully the way you'd want it to. You might have an executive team library, for example, that only the executive team are members of the security group that can access the executive team library content. You might have an HR library. You might have a number of different things, but it goes beyond that too, because this is part of the culture and your business approach. Imagine if somebody was emailing just attached files of secure information around inside your organization. Copilot's going to have a very hard time keeping that secure because it's already insecure. It's very important that that sort of sensitive information is treated appropriately by your organization, is kept in central repositories that have access controls and logging about them, so that you can actually maintain business level control over what is sensitive, especially if you're in a regulated or compliance-based industry. But really, it's for any conscientious company to manage your real assets, the information that you're delivering out, that you're using, that's giving you that competitive advantage in your production. You may even have customer information, you may have vendor information. All of that could be sensitive as well. There's a quick self-test that you can do if you're interested about what your data hygiene looks like and you're already a Microsoft 365 subscriber. You already have this tool, and it's called Delve, Microsoft Delve. It has been out for years. I use it all the time. You go to delve.office.com and it will show you a list of all the files that you've recently worked on, the things your coworkers have recently worked on in areas that you have access to. One of the things that you can do is if you have somebody that you know works on sensitive information inside your organization, you can go talk to them, have them open up delve.office.com and do a search for one of their files. And when they search for one of the files, they can click on that little ... menu in the lower right-hand corner of that file and say, who else has access? Is that list who you'd expect that would have access to it. If there are people on that list that you shouldn't have accessed, then the real challenge is you don't have your information organized, and you don't have a policy or a culture of information control and sharing. You could turn Copilot on in that sort of organization, but just understand Copilot lowers the barrier to get to the information that people already have access to. I will caution you, the first time you go into Delve, you might freak out. You say, Delve's telling everybody everything that I do. And no, it doesn't. Delve tells everybody the things you've been collaborating on that all the people that are viewing it have simultaneous access to. It's the exact same place if they went and browsed to the files themselves. They'd be able to go see that. If you're working on a private file in your own OneDrive, it doesn't show up in Delve for anybody else unless you've shared it with them, at which point it will show up in their Delve. So it respects, and this is really the advantage of Microsoft Copilot and the Copilot for Microsoft 365, is it respects the data privacy and the security model of everything else you're already relying upon in Microsoft 365. When it's set up correctly, Copilot just mines that value and gives you so much additional detail.